everybody, my name is Citrus, and it has certainly been a week for Sonic Frontiers. We went from knowing basically nothing about the game to having a teaser, then a gameplay preview, and then a combat preview, just all within a short few days. And in that time, opinions have been swaying drastically, but it's safe to say people are very worried about this game. Now I've kind of been rewatching these trailers, really trying to consolidate my opinion and come out with something that I can really stand as my opinion. I don't want to just blurt out a knee-jerk reaction for you guys. I want to really sit down and kind of analyze how I feel about this game so far. And so today, we're going to be using the tried and true method of the good, the bad, and the ugly, where I'll be going over all the things I like, all the things I dislike, and then the ugly. Without any further ado, let's just jump into it because I got like 3 pages of notes over here, so we're gonna need to move fast. Move fast, just like Sonic, haha. Well, debatably move fast. We'll get into that. We'll get into the whole speed thing. We're gonna start with the good because I think there is a lot of stuff that we've seen so far that looks pretty cool, that looks really fun. And the number one thing that I am most excited about in Sonic Frontiers is the combat. We had the whole combat preview thing yesterday, and it looked awesome. There were so many different moves that Sonic had, and they were all based on wind, which I think is so dope because the wind motif with Sonic, it's my favorite thing. And we saw a few different enemy varieties in the combat showcase where you could see that Sonic's moves work differently on each of them, where like you do the spin cycle on one of them to remove their shield, or you do the wind kicks on the orb enemies and they go down nearly instantly. It seems like there are different moves that Sonic has that are more and less effective against different kinds of enemies, and you really have to learn which ones are effective against which enemies in order for you to, keep the speed up, stop slowing down as much. And that sounds really fun. I think it'd be cool if in this game, during some of these like story missions, you'll have like a long string of various enemies, and you have to know how to tackle each one in order to not slow down too much. I also really like the design of these new enemies. I know some people say that they feel out of place and that really like the whole world and everything feels out of place for Sonic, but I really like that actually. I feel like it's so, it's unique, it's different for Sonic to be in a realistic setting with these weird alien looking creatures. I like that they aren't just like badniks or something. It shows that there's very clearly something different going on in the story here, as well as, they're putting effort into making some unique enemy designs. And even going beyond the combat, there were certain exploration aspects of the game that I did enjoy. Climbing up the tower and seeing all the different ways that you can ascend to the top of it. That was pretty cool. There were certain rail grinding segments in our initial world premiere gameplay that I enjoyed, that, you're jumping through the bars of the bridge. That was kind of cool. And I mean, the mere fact that wall running is here at all is super cool. I love the wall running in Sonic Lost World and was never really sure if they would ever bring it back. But here it is in almost all of its glory, and this is where we're gonna get into the bad part of the video. We talked about the good, now we're getting into the bad. And we'll start with the most obvious thing, which is the platforming does not look great. It just seems really basic and not challenging at all, and it's on these platforms and rails that are just kind of thrown around in the sky with no real context for why they're there or how they exist in this space. There's no like poles holding them up. There's no like floating technology stuff to be like, oh, you see, there's like engines and stuff that is keeping this stuff afloat. It's just kind of there. I'm hoping that the platforming segments get more interesting in different areas of the game, because this very clearly seems to be like the opening area of the game, and we haven't seen anything else from the game yet, so I'm hoping maybe there are different areas of the island with more challenging platforming stuff, and maybe the story missions have some different platforming challenges. But just from what we've seen, this doesn't look very fun. The second biggest thing is that Sonic controls very weirdly from what we've seen. He has no momentum in this world, and I know some people are tired of hearing about the momentum debate, but it's really true. There's no physics behind Sonic in this game. Like, there's a section in the combat trailer where Sonic's running and he goes down an incline, and then as soon as he hits the bottom where it starts going back up, he immediately slows down to like a crawl. It's just really weird. The inertia isn't there. The motion does not continue throughout his running. It looks bizarre. It does not look good to control. I have a feeling the boost is going to be a heavy crutch for this game, where people are going to need to use it constantly in order to have any speed at all, and that's just kind of a shame. I like the boost, but I like the boost as a sort of additional helping hand when you can't maintain speed on your own. In a similar way to how the spin dash was in older Sonic games, where maybe you get hit by an enemy or something happens, you lose your speed, you can very quickly get back to a pretty solid speed and then try and keep it going from then on. The challenge then becomes having less of those moments where you need to stop and then charge back up to get to full speed. In this game, it seems like there is no possibility of that happening, because you're always going to need to be pressing boost, because Sonic just kind of slows down on his own. I don't think that this means that the game is going to be utterly terrible or anything, because I've seen a lot of people acting like this is going to like make or break the game. And while you can have that opinion, and like if this is the one thing that matters the most to you, and if it doesn't happen, you're like, I guess the game sucks, that's a fine opinion to have. I think the game will still be fine without the momentum stuff. It's just gonna feel worse, the game would have been better off with it. And then there were the puzzles that they showed off, which, I don't know how to feel about them. It's like, the fire puzzle looked kind of cool. Sonic does a spin cycle around a couple of these like torches to put them out. Kind of neat. But then there's like the floor tile one, and then like the statue turning thing. And it's just like, why is that there? I understand wanting to break up the gameplay, have some unique elements, and in that aspect, I think puzzles is a really cool way of, introducing a slower paced style of gameplay into this open world setting. But the way that they're doing it is just really boring. It feels like the equivalent of if you're playing Mario Odyssey and you're like running around having a good time, and then you get to a little area and there's just like a word cross on the screen, and it's just like, can you complete it? And then if you do, you get like a little reward. It's like, that doesn't really use any aspects of the game that we've already seen in interesting ways. It just kind of introduces a new thing. I want to see more puzzles like the fire spin cycle one, where you're using some of Sonic's abilities in the puzzles and, trying to incorporate those two elements together. Sonic has so many moves in this game now because we've seen it in the combat trailer. He has a lot of different stuff going on, and if they could use some of that in these puzzles, I think that'd be really cool. As it stands, they're not terrible, they just seem really boring. And this leads me to the ugly section of the video. We've talked about the good, talked about the bad, gotta talk about the ugly. And the two big things here are the poppin' and the animations. Now, if you don't know what poppin' is, basically, let's say you're playing like an open world game and you're walking around, and it's just like you're walking through a field, and then suddenly, as you're walking forward, like a shop appears, or some rocks appear. Something that wasn't there suddenly appeared. This can happen for a few reasons. Your machine that you're playing the game on might not be strong enough to render everything in the world or in your view at once, so it only pops in once you're close enough with it to interact with it, or the game just isn't optimized well. Sonic Frontiers is looking like the latter, where the game just is not very optimized at the moment. There is a lot of pop-in in both of these gameplay trailers, which is saying something for me, because I really don't notice graphic stuff like this that much, but it's really, really noticeable. And I really hope they fix this for the final game, because I feel like a lot of the fun with open world games is like seeing stuff in the distance and then being like, ooh, I want to go over there, I want to see what's up. And then you go and then, you discover something. That's really cool. It's hard to do that when the render distance doesn't allow you to see stuff that far in the distance. Now, the good news is that I'm fairly certain they'll fix this before the game comes out, just because most modern Sonic games haven't had crazy visual bugs like this. Ever since Morio Kishimoto started directing Sonic games, it feels like they really tightened up how they make games. They're less glitchy, they have less bugs in them, so I could imagine that this would be a priority for them to deal with. The other thing that I mentioned, the animations, I'm not as sure if they're gonna fix. The problem is that nearly all the animations besides like your regular running and jumping seem to need some sort of work. Sonic's punches and kicks don't really have a lot of oomph to them. And then the special moves also can look very weird at times. Sonic's tornado move just looks very strange in the way that he's posed in that. When you're wall running, there's a really weird thing where, let's say this is the wall and this is Sonic and you're running up and Sonic like hits a spring and then like he's just kind of vertically facing the wall until the game realizes it's like, oh, you want a wall run, and then he just kind of snaps to the side like that with no real transition. It's very awkward looking. I would like if there was like, you know, Sonic's coming up and then it smoothly, you know, he does a roll and then springs out of that roll and then starts running to make it look like it's a smooth transition and that, you know, that speed, that momentum is kept up. And there's numerous other examples that I can mention right now. But just, yeah, general animation polish. Now, I don't know if they would fix this, again, because there are so many little tweaks that they would need to make. But I think it's more likely that they fix the animations than some of the platforming stuff. Just because I feel like that stuff they designed, it's in the game, it's like the game, you know? Whereas animations is like more extra flair stuff, and I feel like they would be more willing to fix that than like actual gameplay stuff, which is a shame, but at the same time, the animations do need work, and I hope that they work on them. And so, after these two Sonic Frontiers gameplay previews, I'm left feeling pretty mixed. I think the combat looks really cool. I think there are certain parts of the regular exploration gameplay that look pretty cool, but it's very clear that this game needs a lot of work in terms of technical stuff, in terms of visuals, in terms of animation, and they just seem to be presenting it in a really strange way with these IGN previews with no commentary, no context for what we're seeing, no trailer. We didn't get any sort of like actual trailer taking a look at all the features of the game first. It's just, they're kind of drip feeding it to us, you know. Here's the exploration, here's the combat. I think on Tuesday we might see like story or something, and it's like, why didn't we get, you know, something that showed us all of this in one broad stroke in like a 2 to 3 minute trailer, and then you go into detail, and then you do these longer segments showing off each individual aspect of the game for people like me who care. Instead, we're getting these little bits and pieces, and we're like, is that all the game is? And they're like, no, here's the combat. And then we're like, okay, I mean, this also looks kind of rough, but what else? And they're like, oh, you have to wait till Tuesday to find that out. And it's like, bro, we just want to know what the game is. And that's not to say that the game itself doesn't have problems. Like I mentioned, animations, pop-in, general not fun-looking platforming. There's a lot of stuff that they could fix for this game that's part of the game, but I think it also really does come down to how they are presenting it, how they're showing it off to the world, because they're doing it in the most unappealing way possible. And I think that's really just such a shame, because Sonic has had such a bad reputation over time, and I think this game could still be the Sonic game that we're all dreaming of, you know, the Sonic game that we all really want it to be. They're just showing it off in a way that makes it look like anything but. I'm holding out hope, but as time goes on, I'm getting more and more worried, and I think a delay is very likely for this game if Sega does decide to listen to the feedback that people have been giving, which, by the way, if you haven't already, signed up for the Sega Insights Lab. They've been giving out like surveys like every time they drop one of these new previews. So if you want Sega to hear your opinion on this game, and you want to tell them exactly what you like and exactly what you dislike, sign up. They'll send you like an email every time one of these new videos comes out, and you can tell them how you feel. Maybe get them to delay the game, because I think that's the direction that we're heading in and the direction that they should take. But But anyways, that's kind of all I wanted to say. I'm feeling pretty mixed about this game, and in general, it just is a weird feeling to finally be at this point in history that we've waited so long for this game to finally see what the gameplay is, and it's just not as hype as I would have wanted it to be, because now we're surrounded by worries and negativity, and that really wasn't the energy I wanted to enter this marketing cycle with, you know? I wanted to be looking forward to every new trailer, not dreading it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, click the like button, subscribe. If you want to see more videos like this, comment down below your thoughts on Sonic Frontiers, whether you love what you're seeing, you hate what you're seeing, you're like me and you're really, really in the middle. Let me know all that stuff down below. And once again, thanks for watching. See you all later. Peace.